Greetings, Moors. Greetings, Moors. Greetings, Moors. Let me tell you something. I am just figuring out how to kind of like navigate this system and doing these lives from my phone. I have a board, like I keep talking about. I have this board, but I can't seem to kind of get it there to rotate. So eventually, I don't want it on landscape. I want it on portrait. I don't know why people keep trying to tell me to do portrait. I don't want to do portrait. So let me delete this video because I'm actually on the live on my computer and I think people can see my stuff, but they're not supposed to be able to see it because I didn't post this, or I didn't think I posted it. So I am going to go to settings or go to my channel and see how to delete. Oops, no, went to the wrong thing yet again. Nope, didn't want to switch accounts. Wanted to go to the channel. Videos. It's loud outside. It's loud outside today. I'm actually, give me a second, y'all. Islam, y'all. I'm sitting here. Like, is the rotation right? Is everything okay on this platform? Because I'm trying to navigate here and then I have the board. I'm trying to kind of, your screen was on landscape. It needs to be changed to portrait. I don't want it on portrait. Why you keep trying to tell me to put it on portrait? Portrait is this way. Landscape is this way. I want it this way, not this way. So I'm trying to figure out if you can see me, because I'm trying to make sure everything, I'm still in the situation where I'm trying to see what's going on so you guys can see me. So I'm trying to find out. So is it your font? Thank you, because I don't want it portrait because I want to get the whole display, because eventually I'm gonna be on my board, but I need an easel to be on my board in order to kind of show you guys everything that's going on. Because I like writing down things. It just helps with the transition from one to the other. So hopefully I'll have that for next class. On obviously today's Tuesday, today's international law class. I would like to have at the bottom of the screen that this is the YeSharon Moabite Star Academy. The course is the second class for international law. So this is this class. On Thursdays we have arrest and false imprisonment. And guess what, Moors? Because I just love what I do. Literally, I do love what I do. I actually have created a new page on the Academy's website, which is called Representing Yourself in Court. It's called Representing Yourself in Court. You have to kind of go to in order to get to the page, because it's not available on each page, you have to go literally to you have to go on the page, YeSharon Moabite StarAcademy.com. It's YeSharon Moabite StarAcademy.com. You would have to go to class assignments. So in order to get into the representing yourself if you don't have the link from the emails that I've sent you, Islam, if you don't have the link from the emails that I sent out yesterday, when I kind of finalized that page and published that page on the website, you can get to it through class assignments. The same passcode to get into class assignments is the same passcode in order to get into representing yourself in court. And I spent a lot of time over the weekend getting that page developed, because what's the point? What's the point in actually having the arrest and false imprisonment class and course if you don't use the remedy that you can? Can I post? Absolutely, you can post the link on there. The passcode, please do so. Razine, please do post, because I am sitting here trying to kind of communicate as well as trying to get ready for this class, which is the Tuesday class, which was supposed to start at 6:30, but I was having some technical difficulties. So I couldn't start at 6:30. And I just figured I won't have my board today. I will literally just be talking to you. Eventually, I'll be able to use both simultaneously. I ain't there yet, Moors. Give me a couple of days to kind of get things together, because in order to test live, you gotta be live. So I was live earlier today trying to test it out, and what I was getting issues with is the landscape versus portrait aspect of it. But again, this class is on international law. This is what this class is on, international law. Your comments are going to hopefully come up as you state comments in regards to everything that's going on this class. This is the second course on international law. And we also have, if you've been on the website and you go to the home page of the website, again, the website, if you can post it, that thank you for posting the website, is YeSharon Moabite Star Academy.com. It's YeSharon Moabite Star Academy.com. That page is what you need to, that's the landing page, which is the home page. And then once you go to the home page of the website, again, I'll be trying to do interacting between the two platforms once I can get the ability to merge them together. And once you hit on class assignment, if you haven't already signed on to the class with using the code that was provided to you through the email portal, again, if you go, once you get onto the home page, you can go down to the bottom of the page. My email address, the phone number, as well as the website is at the bottom of the page under the contact section. So if you don't have the passcode to get into these two pages, because they're not just open for everyone, and it's not a fee to get into the page, but donations are absolutely positively encouraged and needed. So that being said, once you get to the home page, you're going to go to the class assignments. Once you get on class assignments, once you enter that code in to get on class assignments, you'll see the links or the headers for all the pages that will be available. The pages the class assignments that are being available as and featured on this particular page is false imprisonment, which is the class that's hosted on Tuesdays. Secure transactions, that is a full class that is already down there. All the videos are posted for that class. The third class is treaty series. That is a class where we pretty much go through all the treaties. Those classes, as well as those videos, are located at the bottom of the screen. We have a class that'll be coming up after the close of false imprisonment class, which is called criminal procedures. Then we have, which hasn't started yet. It's going to start after false imprisonment. And then the last class that's located on class assignments is international law, which is what the class and the focus of today's class is on. International law. All you got to do is click on those sections, and as I upload videos for international law, the first video was uploaded and it is viewable from the site for you to kind of start there. It was a preliminary class in regards of what we need to know about international law. There's 100, I actually have listed 195, over 195 states that have became member states of the UN. The first class, we went over the preamble, and we went over the preamble, and we went over Article 1 of the charter, which was the UN charter. Does anybody know when was the charter for the United Nations, establishing the United Nations? When was that established? When was the UN established? When did it become what it has become? When was it established? That's a question open to the floor. Obviously, when these classes, I am going to ask for participation. Participation assists you as well as me in how to direct the course of this class, Islam. So if you don't remember the United Nations Charter or any information as it relates to the charter, this is going to be an interactive class. So when I'm having this class, I have every expectation that you're going to be, if you have your laptop next to you, if you have your phone, tablets, or anything next to you, watch the video on one platform, but then on another platform, be pulling up these things so you can reference. And then eventually I will be sharing the screen. I'm not sure if I can share my screen while I'm going live, while I'm doing these things. As I get comfortable using this platform, Islam Razim, it was established on the 25th of April or the 26th of June. I'm not sure which one 1945. That was when the Charter for the UN was established. If you want to stay in If you want to stay in line with what I'm teaching and what I'm talking about, go to the YeSharon Moabite StarAcademy.com. From the home page, you're going to hit the historical timeline. Once you hit the historical timeline, you're going to pull down to the bottom where it has a list of all of the links for the different treaties that I'm mentioning in this broadcast or in any of my classes, because I want you to be able to kind of stay along, follow along, and then reference what it is that I'm talking about. So if you go down to, wait a minute, where is the charter? Why isn't it in 1945? Because I have here the Montevideo Convention, the Montevideo Convention for 1933. Then it goes down to the Convention on Privileges and Immunities of the United Nations. But the treaty, the convention for, nope, that's not where it is. Where is it at? It's not where it's supposed to be. And nobody has noticed that. The UN Charter is not down there. It's probably up in the context. So we're going to go peruse. That's probably why it's not at the bottom, y'all, because it's where it's supposed to be in the timeline. So if you go through the timeline, 1945, United Nations, it got a pinned in section, but the link for the charter is located there. All you got to do is click on it, and then you'll go straight to the UN Charter, the Charter of the United Nations, and the statutes of the International Court of Justice, Islam, October 24th, 1945. Islam, thank you for that. Now, you can always go to the website for the UN. Last class, we kind of went through the website and started beginning to talk about what the United Nations was established for. What was the purpose of the establishment of the United Nations charter? Can anybody say, what was the purpose? Why was the UN established? And what is the UN? Can anybody tell me what it is from last class? What's the UN? What is the United Nations? We know it was established October of 1945, but what was the purpose? Not only what was the purpose, but what is the United Nations? What is it? That's open to the floor, obviously. I'm not going to wait too long for people to type it up into the chat. Eventually, I would like participation in regards to bringing you guys in and saying, okay, somebody raised their hand, I'll push you. Hopefully, it's that interactive in regards to using a YouTube live platform versus versus another type of platform, because I'm not going to see, as you guys post up chats and different things, I'm not going to see the chats as they get posted. I'm just not going to see them because it like literally flashes on my screen and then it kind of goes away. So to answer my question, because nobody posted a chat, posted the answer was, its purpose is peace. The United Nations Charter was established, which is an international organization. It's an international organization established to maintain the peace between different nations. That's the purpose of the UN, right? There, and like last class, and even on the website, which I got to make a change, I said there's 195. But per my research just yesterday, it's 193. Now, I need you guys to get used to navigating the website because my job is to make it easy for you to see different things. Now, if you click right under International Course, if you click right under there to see the current list of the UN members, all you got to do is click on it. Another page is going to open up. It's going to tell you who are the 193 member states and when they became a member of the UN. And the one thing that I want to make sure I clarify is when Morocco became a member state. When Morocco became the member state, and to clarify, who is Morocco and who are they talking about? Moors, they're not talking about all of Morocco. They're just talking about the kingdom of Morocco. And I made sure on this page, as you peruse down and go look, you will see that the kingdom of Morocco, I think I moved it into the section of Morocco to make sure I noted that it is the kingdom of Morocco. in the kingdom of Morocco is referred to as just plainly Morocco, but the kingdom of Morocco does not represent the entire empire. It only represents the kingdom of Morocco. Now, I'm going to see if I can put the image of the map, the world map. So you know where the kingdom of Morocco is. It's not here. The kingdom of Morocco is not here. And when they're referring to different things or different treaties or different agreements, and they just explain Morocco, excuse my French, any mention after or after 1956, which is the date, December 11th, 1956, is when the Kingdom of Morocco became a member state of the UN, right? Because we know people like to over exaggerate the facts. People like to make it seem like they're talking about all of Morocco. Jurisdiction. We know there's 3 levels or 3 types of jurisdiction. Does anybody know what those 3 types of jurisdiction that have to be met for anybody to have jurisdiction over you? These are preliminary. These are things that we talked about in previous classes. Does anybody know by chance what the I'm gonna try to see if I can pull this up, y'all. To see, I don't even know how to do that on my computer because I'm literally on it and I'm trying to go see my videos to see if I can see the classes and to see if I can see the answers or the comments. And the question that was posted so far was, what is the 3 jurisdictions? The 3 different types of jurisdictions. Can anybody answer that question for me? And it's interesting. Maybe if I go to one of my different accounts, and let me try to go to a different account to see if I can bring it up. Subject matter jurisdiction is one. I don't know if you posted the other one. Subject matter jurisdiction, right? Come on, give me some more, y'all. It's 2 more. We got subject matter jurisdiction. I'm trying to pull this up on a different platform because I need to see the comments as they come up. And there's a live that's going on. So let me see. It's on. Okay, here we go. Now I can see all y'all comments because I can't see them over here. I got to bring my butt over here to see the comments. Islam Moors. Islam Moors. Now, when people talk about, there's an individual that says, show results. This class is on international law. What results are you asking me to show you? This is an international law class. There's no results to show you. I'm giving the people information as it relates to what is not necessarily what is nationality, but representing your court pro se, that territorial jurisdiction, that's the second one. So we got subject matter jurisdiction, territorial jurisdiction. So subject matter jurisdiction is jurisdiction over the argument, over the laws that are presenting within the argument. Then we have territorial jurisdiction. That's talking about the land, jurisdiction over a specific plot of land, because jurisdiction changes from section to section to section, right? Based on where you find yourself on the land. So those are 2. Islam, those are 2 types of jurisdictions. And the third one I'll give it to you for, to save time is personam jurisdiction. The third one is personam jurisdiction. Jurisdiction over the person. The person. So you got jurisdiction over the land. That's territory. Jurisdiction over the type of case, the subject matter, and then jurisdiction over the person. So all three of those elements of jurisdiction must be met in order to have jurisdiction, right? They all have to be met, right? So that being said, when we talk about the Kingdom of Morocco, now, if you guys are in front of your computers, go to a Google screen and said, where is the kingdom of Morocco? Because one thing that Moors have to discern, the difference between a theory and a difference between a fact, a difference between law. Or let's use the example of a fact can be a theory, or it's just a stated opinion about something. And that opinion can be based in theory or it can be based in law. And a fact can be either one of those things. Because what is the definition of a fact? I like to be competent in what we're talking about, right? Kingdom of Morocco is, the Kingdom of Morocco is a mountainous, oh goodness, it flew out. It flew away, y'all. It flew away. So the Kingdom of Morocco, if you look it up, if you just do a search, where's the Kingdom of Morocco on the map? It's going to show you exactly where it is. Now that is considered the land, the territorial jurisdiction of the Kingdom of Morocco. And it's based on what lawful document? It's based on what lawful document? It's based on the Constitution that was declared by that international person or that state, right? Which is a member of what? The United Nations. And it became a member of the United Nations in 1956, right? So when they refer to Morocco, they're just referring to that one spot of Morocco that declared itself a independent person through what? What did we talk about last class in terms of what constitutes a state? Because I don't think a lot of people know this. I don't think a lot of people read to know as opposed to have a talking point. It's about knowing, right? So we have to know what we're talking about, and we can't always be have a servitory mindset, having other people tell us what something means, interpret it. We have to learn how to interpret things when we see them. So any so-called treaty that was between Morocco and, let's say, the United States prior to not even 1956, right? But that's when that was declared, because when the Kingdom of Morocco was actually declared, not when it became a member state, because we're talking about it became a member state of the UN in 1956, but it was declared an independent state with that particular geographical location. You can look it up on YouTube, not YouTube, you can look it up on Google to see what they're talking about. So Moors, if you don't domicile within that territory, you are not a national of the Kingdom of Morocco. That is not what you are a national of. They don't have personam jurisdiction over Moors over here, nor do they have territorial jurisdiction or subject matter jurisdiction. And why don't you? Why don't they? Because you've never gave your oath and allegiance to the state that has been established, that has been declared, whether it was declared based on previous classes on the declarative theory. And understand what a theory is an idea. It's not necessarily rooted in law, it's just an idea. And then we have constitutive. So we have those two different theories on what the international community speaks about, thinks, gives you a state based on international law. So we got to understand, well, what does the law say? Well, what does the treaty say? And we have to stay in harmony with that, right? Now, there's been comments or questions or debates on, well, or even statements of what someone thinks, right? The recognition of statehood by the UN, United Nations. Well, I already told you that the United Nations is a international organization. It is a international organization established by member states to instill or maintain the peace between all of humanity, even if you're not, let's say, a member state. Now, there's a lot of nations or countries that don't participate with the UN in terms of a UN member. Peace and love, YeSharon Moabite. Oh, Islam, CP. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So you have to understand, my job as YeSharon, my job is to clarify what it is that you and I should already know about international law. If we did our study, you sleepy-headed Moors, we would be a little bit farther in advance in regards to, well, why do we need to UN? Well, we want to instill peace, right? We want to instill peace. Do you think that the Moors here that have been activating their knowledge in law, participating, do you feel like we're at peace? Or do you feel like we're at war? Do you feel like we have equality? Do you feel like we have rights or liberties? Or do you feel that we're still struggling in that aspect of being able to even travel upon the land? Well, we have a lot of international conventions, a lot of treaties between the Moroccan Empire. Now we're talking about the empire. Now the empire has a jurisdiction that far exceeds past the Kingdom of Morocco. The Kingdom of Morocco is just one little tiny little landmass that's off on a corner of the tip of, let's say, like, I don't even think I can, on a part of Africa. Now if I look and go past, it's called, the continent is called Africa. It's just the name of that land mass that has a multitude of nations upon it. Has many. You got Africa. I use these terms loosely, Moors. You have Africa. You have South America. You have, these are different continents. These are different continents. You have North America, which is a continent, which is where the so-called jurisdiction of United States is. But if you read the Constitution for the jurisdiction of the United States of America, it's not all of that little landmass that it likes to identify. It is considered in one little tiny location. If you go look, if you enlarge these maps, you'll see just how big. And it's based on what document? It's based on the Constitution. And then you have state trust territories, non-governing trust territories, non-governing trust territories, which is what the other so-called 50 corporate states represent, right? Why do they exist? Because the Moors have this theory. It's a theory. They have an idea that, okay, we're Moors, we have sovereignty. Okay, so let's just start operating in that way. And we've all done that, me included, not knowing what international law says about us as Moors. Well, okay, Moors, if you want to be Moors, well, you got to actually establish a state. Now, there's a lot of our people who don't agree with that. And they can't give you a fact in law, at law, that supports their non-participation in this realm, right? So as we look and we go, like I'm telling you, I'm just blowing up an image, blowing up a map, blowing it out so you can see. Then you have the continent of Asia, which is connected to Europe, and it's not giving me no other land masses, and they're all telling you what either governing state exists there or non-governing territory that exists there, because there's only two types of states. Either the state, and they use state loosely, either with a capital S or with a lowercase s, but the difference is one that is self-governing and another that is non-self-governing. That is what the United States of America is a representation of. Territories that are non-self-governing. And why is that? That is the question. Why has have our people who've been fighting for liberation, who've been fighting for civil rights, who've been fighting for equality, for peace, for economic liberty, for sovereignty and integrity, all these things that we're fighting for, but we don't realize we're missing the point. We're missing certain material, essential laws and documents, but because we want to sit here, ouch, we want to sit here and say, well, we want to talk about the conventions. I'm going to tell you the conventions that we want to talk about, and I'm going to keep referring back to the YeSharon Moabite StarAcademy.com, because if you go to the class assignments page and you go down to international law, you can click on the current members of the UN. Another page will pop up that tells you who are all the member states. But then if you go to the historical timeline, which everybody has access to, but regardless of if you're a student or not, you have access to the historical timeline, where you'll go down the timeline and we talk about, and all the way at the bottom, it lists, I don't even know, I haven't counted all of the different treaties to know and to study, right? It starts with the International Convention for the Suppression of the Traffic in Women and Children. That was established in 1921, y'all. And I'm just going to read them. I'm not going to read them all. I'm going to talk about the ones that everybody talks about in their lawful documents, right? In their lawful affidavits, to file a rebuttal in a state municipal corporate venue, which is improper. We didn't know that, but that's what we were taught. You could use the Convention and the Privileges of, not immunity, not that one. I'm going to go the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, right? That was based in December 1948. So why in 1965 are we talking about civil rights? Trying to tell you, not to mention, and that one's talking about what are the rights that humans have. Right, you do. What are the rights these conventions are talking about? These are international documents. These are international treaties. Now, you have that one. Then you have the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations. You have the Vienna Convention on Consular Relations. Those are both. The first one, the Diplomatic Relations Convention, was established in 1961, and then after that, you had the Consular Relations in 1963. Right? These are all documents that we've been putting in our briefs, that we've been putting in our affidavit of facts, in our claims, in a let's say at the magisterial court level, or the Court of Common Pleas level, which now we're talking about the 3 levels of jurisdiction: personam, subject, territory. Personam, subject, territory, right? So if we're bringing in, well, the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, that's 1787 and then 1836. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about us using that treaty. And I'm just giving you information as to what we were lacking, which is why our remedies were slow pace, right? Not necessarily that, people think, oh, the so-called judge walked away from the bench when I brought up these different arguments. Well, one, why? Because they can't speak to that subject matter. They're not a competent jurisdiction to hear those arguments. They can't even do anything about those arguments, right? To dismiss them. Can't talk about the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. That's an improper venue. I don't have jurisdiction over that subject matter, right? So if we go up to the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, and I do these things because we need to learn from our mishaps. Because to be successful, you have to have failures. How do you know the difference between success and failure if you have not failed? And in order to succeed, 9 times out of 10, you did something wrong along the way, because that's just learning. Don't get angry or don't get discouraged when something doesn't happen your way. Find out what was missing. Don't go to that emotional space. Don't just automatically go to, oh, they're just against me because they can't get around jurisdiction. Well, they do get around jurisdiction. They do get around it, right? Because if they don't have jurisdiction, well, how is the case proceeding? What is ultimately your recourse? to kick that case to the proper venue to deal with the subject matter at hand, Islam. So if we go up to the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, where's it at? There it is. You click on it, it's going to come up. The treaty is going to come up. The section of the treaty is going to come up that talks about what? Article 20. Everybody uses Article 20, 21, and 22. Very good articles to reference. But how can you reference this argument in a venue that can't speak to international law? It can't speak to international law, and a treaty is an international law. So a magisterial, a court of common pleas is not the proper venue, even though obviously there's nothing wrong with stating it. The more the better, because just like how you'll get unlawfully detained, and by the time you even realize what happened, you got 20 plus freaking charges, just throwing everything throwing everything against the wall to see what'll stick. But more importantly, to justify the detainment, justify the bail amount that they're going to issue based on the charges, and then going to start knocking them off, right? Going to start knocking them off based on argument, based on the law that supports it, right? So I bring these things up on purpose. So Article 20 talks about if any of the citizens of the United States or any person under their protection shall have any disputes with each other, the consul shall decide between the parties, right? And whenever the consul shall require any aid or assistance from our government to enforce his decision, it shall be immediately granted to him. Now, it's talking about our government, right? And we're talking about the person that established this treaty. The person, the authority that established this treaty was the Moroccan Empire, the Moroccan government. So the Moroccan government is saying, if there's a dispute between United States citizens, it has to be done in consular court. Well, what happens if there's no consular court? Well, where is the case going? Well, the France versus United States case told you where it was going. Well, the Moroccan Empire is not standing. It's not standing, or the individuals that is utilizing that jurisdiction based on Article what? What are they using? They're using the trust. The treaty is a trust. It's a binding contract, right? So we're sitting here saying, oh, you got to take us to consular court. Well, there's no consular court. Why is there no consular court? Well, the United States relinquished it in 1956 when the Kingdom of Morocco was established for that part of Morocco, the Moroccan Empire, but it left the whole other part of Morocco undefended with a consular court. Well, why? Because the Moors didn't reestablish it. But in what we are coming to know as we gain knowledge on international law, as we gain now on international law, we realize that we sit here complaining to the Albions, to the United States corporate venues that you got to bring us to consular court, and we're prematurely establishing consular court, and we didn't even establish the state first. The state has to be established first. We walked away from our Moroccan Empire. We walked away from our government. We can't just one day just say, oh, I'm a Morgan. You got to bring me to consular court. You can't take me to that corporate court, even though that's how we've been identifying. We put nothing on the record to validate that. We're doing self-declarations of independence outside of that platform without having the actual platform for which we are removing ourselves under colonialism from, right? Removing ourselves under colonialism from. So, and then you have Article 21. If a citizen of the United States shall kill or wound a Moor, or on the contrary, if a Moor shall kill or wound a United States citizen of the United States, the law of the country shall prevail or shall take place, right? And equal justice shall be rendered. The consul assisting at trial, and if any delinquent shall make his escape, the consul shall not be answerable for him in any manner whatsoever. Then when we get to Article 22, which is where which is where Moors find themselves subject to the jurisdiction of the United States of America because of that territory for which they domicile is a non-governing territory by a sovereign state. And a sovereign state is by the people, right? The people of the land, which they used to call Indians, all these other titles instead of Moors because they wanted to disconnect you from the land. So they never have to worry about you coming back to make a proper, competent claim through the declaratory theory and the constitutive theory of statehood, right? So now we got Article 22. Article 22 talks about if an American citizen, now they're using another term. So up here they use the United States, and now they're using American citizen. What's the difference? Why use these different terms? I understand we don't have a certified copy from the Library of Congress to verify that certain names and certain terms didn't get misused. But we know there's only two parties to the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. It's the Moroccan Empire and the United States of America. It's the Moroccan Empire and the United States of America. So we can deduce just based on the fact that it's those two parties that the American citizens are the United States of America. Who else would they be? Only two parties to the contract. So if an American citizen shall die in our country, now they're talking about our country, Morocco, the Empire of Morocco. These are ways to qualify who they're talking about when they start using different terms to confuse you. So if an American citizen shall die in our country, and no will shall appear, the consul shall take possession of his effects. And if there shall be no consul, the effects shall be deposited in the hands of some person worthy of trust, until the party shall appear who has a right to demand them. But if the heir to the person deceased be present, the property shall be delivered to him without interruption. I don't know what the Treaty of Marrakesh is. What is the Treaty of Marrakesh? And when you talk about them recognizing the Treaty of Marrakesh, be clear. So are you talking about the Treaty of Peace and Friendship because you used a different term? Clarify, because you're using a different term than what I'm using in terms of the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. That's an identifier. So now you're talking about the Treaty of Marrakesh. Post the link. We'll talk about it in next class. So the property shall be delivered to him without interruption. And if a will shall appear, the property shall descend agreeable to that will as soon as the consul shall declare the validity of that will. All they declaring the validity of is that will, right? If there is a will to be present. Well, what does the Treaty of Peace and Friendship represent? It represents a contract. It represents an agreement. It represents a trust document because it's telling you, right? And this is how they've declared jurisdiction over the Moors in the Moroccan Empire because there's no Moroccan nation at that particular time to receive it. Article 22. Now, we're talking about in 1952, the treaty. 1952. We're going to get into the United States versus France case because it's a very awesome case because this is what clarifies things to Moors where you fit in the world of international law, where we fit in the world of international law. We fit, or Moors that have not done their due diligence, declared their independence through their statehoods, and have established the certain and followed the certain protocols that were established in order to establish statehood. Well, then you're still subject to the United States jurisdiction. And that's because we sit here and think everybody's supposed to do our work for us. There's 190, I'm gonna keep saying this until it gets in your thick head. There's 193 states that are member states, and they're just member states that have said, you know what, we're going to come together, we're going to be adults, we're going to unify, and we're going to establish these Moroccan governments all over the so-called 59 governing trust territories and start establishing and running our own land with the aid of the international community. Well, how do you get the aid of the international community? There's certain protocols that have to be followed. Those protocols don't originate Those protocols don't originate from the UN Charter. They don't originate there. They originate from the treaties that gave the UN its authority to be established. And the Moors have been absent on that international stage as a independent state because we've been capitulating as Moroccan subjects, Moorish Americans, proteges, and a protege is somebody who gave their oath and allegiance to the state. You understand what I'm saying? So we're part, we sit here and make it seem like we're being violated because people just don't like us. We're being violated because they came over here, all these different countries, all to build and establish wealth on our land because the United States invited them through the treaties that they've established against our behest. I don't even know what word that I want to use because the reality is the United States is operating. The United States is operating as an intergovernmental organization for this non-governing territory. Well, this one is no longer. Pennsylvania is no longer. There's a lot of Moroccans who are getting it, who are accepting the downloads of knowledge, the downloads of information, who are accepting it. And not sitting here thinking that you can be outside of government or outside of nation state building or international law for over eight generations to sit here and say, okay, this is how we're coming back. This is the audacity of our people. We're coming back this way. Well, our treaties, Moroccan treaties, for which the United Nations is established based on, is telling us, well, how the heck? We sit here and keep talking about everybody's warring against us. Everybody's talking junk about us. Everybody hates us. No, we're the only ones that's not coming in right. Back to nationality. Decolonization Act. Then you got that. Oh my God, that's another international document, right? But we're not going to go there. Today, this is class 2 on international law. There's going to be a bunch of classes because we need to help you guys. I need to help you guys as well as help myself to understand what it is that we need to do. So now if we go back to the UN Charter, and again, I'm going to tell you exactly where it says it's an intergovernmental organization. It's an intergovernmental organization. An intergovernmental organization for which the United Nations cannot recognize a state. And why? Why can't the UN recognize a state? So y'all need to stop using that term. Are you recognized by the UN? Why can the United Nations not recognize a state? And it says it on its own freaking website. But I think in the name of what it is already tells you the answer. Why can't the UN recognize a state? That's open for the floor. While I go to the section that I think we're on now, right? Because we're on Article 1. And we're going to go through this whole charter. It's long. Just want y'all to know. I ain't going to go through it all tonight, but it's long. And I'm not going to wait too long for an answer. So I'm going to go back. Accordingly, our prospective governments. So they're talking about our prospective governments. Well, who were the original individuals that established the charter? That's a good question. Who are the original 5? Do y'all know who the original 5 were that established the charter for the United Nations? I know of like 4. And you can just put what countries established the UN Charter. Probably can go back to the original document and you'll see the signatory powers on the original document. You'll see it. Right? The Charter entered into force on the 24th of October 1945, following ratification by the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council. The 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council. We're going to talk about that later because I know our people be like, what you mean? What do you mean? What you mean? I know how y'all get. Y'all get tripped up by words and the spells, right? So the 5 are this. The 5 permanent members of the Security Council of the UN are China, France, the Soviet Union, which is now Russia, if I'm not mistaken, the United Kingdom, and the United States. Islam, right? These are so-called the permanent members of the UN. Now, this right here makes individuals a little leery, right? Well, why are they permanent members? I know why. I know why. Based on when it was established in 1945. Well, where were the Moors in 1945? They were within the jurisdiction of the United States as black people, Negroes, colored. They weren't represented in the establishment of this. So of course they wouldn't be a permanent member. But how was the United States there? What gave them the authorization to even be there? So technically, Moors are already there as a permanent member. I'm just trying to tell you. That's what I get. But I don't know, people don't always get the same thing I get. And I'm gonna reserve the rest as we go on why. Why? Okay? A majority of other signatories, this is considered the official starting date of the United Nations, with the first session of the General Assembly representing 51 initial members, opening in London. That's what they said. The following January. Okay? So now we have certain information. This information you need to remember and imprint into your brain, because dates are very, very important. Historical things are very, very important as well. Because who was the first nation to recognize the United States? How is the United States even here? How? We'll talk about that later. Islam? So we know the UN Charter was established in 1945. It has 5 permanent members of the Security Council, which have veto power, by the way. They have veto power, meaning a claim, an application to initiate proceedings, can be brought to the Security Council's floor, and they can actually sit here and only takes 1 member of that permanent Security Council to veto it. And it does not move past that point. Doesn't move past it. We'll talk about why going forward. But again, the Charter of the United Nations was 1945. At that particular time, it had 51 initial members. 5 of those members are permanent members of the Security Council. That's China, that's France, that's Russia, that's United Nations, that's United States, right? Those are the original. Right now, there's 193 members. So a lot of people have been getting their act together, right? For security, for economic liberty, for no inequality, for an economic base. All of these reasons, right? We are fighting the fight, but we're not getting the message. Moors, if we want independence, if we want an economic base, we have to get, we got to get in the game. Moors, we got to get in the game. Islam? Next. Oh, I didn't even finish reading it. Accordingly, our prospective governments, now I gave you that, who they are, through representative assembly assembled in the city of San Francisco, who have exhibited their full powers found to be in good and due form, have agreed to the present Charter of the United Nations and do hereby establish an international organization to be known as the United Nations. So it's an international organization, and an international organization is not a state for which another state can get recognized. It doesn't have recognition power, okay? States are recognized by other states. Chapter 1, Purpose and Principles. The purpose of the UN, the UN are, there are 7. And the way I teach is to make sure you get these fundamentals. These are your arguments. These are your points to make, points of interest to make. The first, to maintain international peace and security. And to that end, to make effective collective measures for the prevention and removal of threats of the peace or to the peace, and for the suppression of acts of aggression or other breaches of the peace, and to bring about by peaceful means and in conformity with the principles of justice and international law, adjustment or settlement of international disputes or situations which might lead to a breach of the peace. Well, what's a situation that might lead to a breach of the peace? Well, Black people love to do this all the time when another Black person dies. And I use these terms not to disrespect you. I use these terms because a lot of our people still identify that way. And if you try to tell them that's not who they are, they get really ignorant and really violent. So I'm going to respect who you say that you are. But no, when I'm using the term Black, that is not to identify you. You're Moors who just don't know that you are Moors, right? So when there's a dispute, there is a way. When there is a dispute, there is a way to air out those grievances and disputes. Because a dispute is what? What is the definition of a dispute? All right? Definition of a dispute. A disagreement, an argument, or a debate. We love to debate, right? We love to debate. Sometimes we don't even be on the right lawful process, right? We'll just debate because we're emotional about something. Literally, just debate because we're emotional about something. It'll have no legal basis in law, but we're debating it. We got to start debating the right things that should be debated, right? So a debate, an example that was posted up there was a disagreement between who? What two parties? Israel and Pakistan and Palestine, right? Two parties warring, got a dispute, disagreement. Well, the UN got involved through an application to initiate proceedings by South America. Can't really remember. Don't lie to me. Don't let me lie to you. Go check and fact check it on the website, because that came out back in January and they're still doing stuff and they're getting sanctioned by different individuals, as well as the United States got sanctioned by these individuals because they're not anyway, I'm not here to talk about that yet because we're not there yet to talk about it. Right. So the United Nations and different nations who are member states or even non-member states go to the UN to address their grievances in a peaceful manner. Well, South Africa or South America, I can't take it when I don't know the words that I'm trying to know. Somebody feel like it? Yeah, on the debate one, right? Y'all got to give me the name. Thank you, South Africa. Because I'm like, is it South America or South Africa? I can't remember. Thank you, CP. So they initiated that dispute. Like, look, they over there warring. Somebody got to get involved because they're not even who they warring against. Are they? Is Israel a member state? And I think they are. I think Israel's a member state. I think Pakistan's a member state. All these people are member states, right? Why didn't they bring their own claim up to resolve that issue in the UN? There's a reasons why certain people don't want to initiate claims because because once a ruling is final under United Nations, it's final. But that ruling has to be based on what? The agreements between each other and the evidence, right? The agreements between each other, which would be the contracts. Well, who are the parties supposed to be at the Gaza Strip? I don't want to go into that case because it's a deep case. We got our own stuff over here we need to be focusing on, right? Cases that's going on. I just use these cases as an example of where proper venues are supposed to address issues, right? Where proper venues are supposed to be addressed. Well, we have issues with the United States of America. They're not honoring the treaty because the realities are, just like France under the Treaty of Fez, they had a responsibility to assist us with bringing us back into government. But why would we think on any real level that individuals who've been violating us in coming to our territory to take from our resources, not only the land, but our human abilities, our energy, and we're not getting anything back from that. We're not getting anything. You can't get you can't get welfare. You can't. I mean, there's a lot of programs that are out there, but we don't get it. How us our people don't get these programs? How we got to go out there and run and get a job to pay rent, to pay mortgages, to pay car notes? I'm like, everybody is over here. All of these shucks, I would gather many of these member states of the UN are over here is cheating us. But why? We're letting it happen because we're not holding them accountable by establishing these states and start regulating our land as a self-governing territory. And when we lay out our requirements or our laws or our regulations that everybody who come to Morocco are subject to pertaining to whatever territory that you domicile near, or the territory being claimed by that Moroccan state, well, we're going to air that grievance out in the International Court of Justice, which is under the UN Charter. Islam? Any questions so far? Any comments so far? I'm saying a lot. Almost didn't have class tonight because I just couldn't get my camera acting right. That's why I ended up just sitting down here and not going over there to the board, which I want to start. I need y'all to hear me. I need y'all to see, right? We are visual people. You got to see it sometimes written down. And hopefully next week I'll have this on an easel facing that way so you can see what it is I'm trying to get you to see. So the first one is what? To maintain international peace and security. That's the first one, purpose. The second one is to develop friendly relations among nations based on respect for the principles of equal rights and self-determination of peoples, and to take other appropriate measures to strengthen universal peace, right? Number 3, to achieve international cooperation in solving international problems of an economic, social, cultural, or humanitarian character, and in promoting and encouraging respect for human rights and for fundamental freedoms for all without distinction as to race, sex, language, or religion. Number 4, to be a center for harmonizing the actions of nations in the attainment of these common ends. Oh, that was, see the way they got it right here. Okay, so that was it. Those are the 4. It's actually only 4 for Article 1. So if we go back to maintain international peace, to develop friendly relations among nations, to achieve international cooperation, and to be a center for harmonizing actions of nations to attain these common goods. So it's to make sure we're not fighting all the time. We're not warring all the time, because war creates much loss, not only economically, but also in human loss and culture, right? Because in the wars that were going on here within Morocco, our people don't even know who they are. Exactly, to maintain peace. That is the whole mission of the UN Charter, right? With those 5 Security Council members. And there's a section that actually going to talk about Security Council, right? So Article number 2, the organization, it's telling you it's an organization, and its members, in pursuit of the purposes stated in Article 1, shall act in accordance with the following principles. Number one, exactly. You get more bees with honey than you get, like, you ain't get no bees without honey. That's real rat, because that's all they do is look for honey. So how you gonna get the bees who like to sting, right? They like to sting you. They like to sting you. So if they like to sting you, why the heck would they? Like, I want you to do something for me. If you go like this, hello, how are you today? It's a great day today. I actually had a question. I'm not sure if you can help me, but you look beautiful today. I love that outfit. That's Honey. You giving honey sugar. Not that one. You giving honey, right? You're giving honey. You're giving sweet talk. You're giving sweet talk, which is bringing individuals issues with you down, because a lot of times, oh my God, y'all, I got something else to tell y'all. I'm going to interject for a couple seconds before I go to the next thing, because I was going to do a video about this. It was one of my spiritual advisors. He sent me a link to a video to a movie that's coming out that literally came out on the 15th. And I bring this up on purpose. It's a talking point. It's called, oh my goodness, what was it called? Okay, give me 1 second. It was called Negro Magic movie. It's coming out. It came out a couple of days. It's called The American Society. I'm trying to tell y'all, it's all they be playing games with us, and our so-called black Moorish actors be pissing me off because they do so much crazy stuff, right? They do so much crazy stuff to keep painting the same narrative. But this movie I look at as a way of expressing what we already do, what our people have historically done. The American Society of Magical Negroes, 2024. It came out on the 15th of this month. It's about, and it just gives you a quick little snippet. It's about a young man, his name is Aaron, is recruited into a society of magical black people, but it's magical black Negroes. The name is Magical Negroes, who dedicated their lives to a cause of utmost importance, making white people live easier and to feel more comfortable around us. But if we go to the etymology about the magical Negro, right? It talks about the magical Negro is a trope of American cinema, television, and literature. In the cinema of the United States, the magical Negro is a supporting stock. They literally say is a supporting stock character who comes to the aid of white protagonists in a film. So it kind of talks about, and it first kind of, the first Asiatic Moor that talked about it was Spike Lee, how black people, Negroes at the time, would go out of their way to not only help Europeans, white people, to make them feel more comfortable around us. So we not only did this in terms of how we behave, getting more sweet, get more with honey. You get more with honey, right? You get more with honey. So talks about how we speak a different way when we're around them, so they don't get all uncomfortable around us. Because why do we do these things? Not only that, we at one point wore our hair straight. That was why we originally started straightening it, so they feel more comfortable around us, and we weren't so what's the word, intimidating or fearful. Not only did we dress a certain way, make ourselves look a certain way, speak a certain way, we would go out of our way to help them. Many of our people still do this today. We still do this today because it's a learned behavior. It's a learned behavior. Not only that, because why? Why do we do it? We do it because we need a job. We got bills to pay, right? We don't want to get fired. We don't want, there's a lot, because of them controlling our empire. We feel the need to, I'm not going to say certain words, but we feel the need to make them feel very, very comfortable around us in order so we can get our needs met, which is to make sure we're able to take care of ourselves and our children. So I brought that up just for that reason alone, because I couldn't believe that movie was out, that was a new movie made, and I thought it was freaking interesting. And the part that I thought was interesting about it is it brings awareness. It brings awareness to our people to see, because all of our people do not behave this way. Trust me, all of our people do not go out of their way to make Albions feel more comfortable around us. Some of us still to this day do that. I'm professional no matter who I'm around. I have respect for myself, so I have respect for you. So regardless of if I'm around a so-called black person who's ignorant as hell, it don't even matter. I'm respectable because I have respect for myself. So you're going to understand that energy flows, whatever energy is flowing towards you is because of whatever energy they have. Don't add to it, right? Just like the person said, you get more honey, you get more bees with honey, right? You get more bees with honey. So I only bring that up to say it's probably a good movie. We love to be entertained. We do a lot. We deserve to be entertained. It'll give awareness on it as it relates to, well, you don't have to just be, be nice, overly nice to an individual. Just be yourself. Just be yourself. We don't owe Albions anything. It's the reverse. We need to get out of that mindset that we always want to help the Albions, but yet we see our own brothers and sisters struggling and we don't do anything for them. And there's a lot of movies that attest to that ideology that they're still trying to push. They're still trying to push that ideology. So make sure when you're watching these movies, you watch them with the appropriate context. And I only wanted to add that and to say that because I thought it was so interesting and I wanted to bring it up, and now I brought it up and now I'm past that, right? So going back to the UN Charter. So now we're going to Article, where are we at? Article 2. The organization of its members in pursuit of the purpose stated in Article 1 shall act in accordance with the following principles. Number 1, the organization is based on the principle of the sovereign equality of all its members. So all members are equal, right? Number 2, all members, in order to ensure to all of them the rights and benefits resulting from membership, shall fulfill in good faith the obligations assumed by them in accordance with the present charter. Article 3, all members shall settle their international disputes by peaceful means in such a manner that international peace and security and justice are not endangered. So now I'm going to go back and read that again because it says all members shall settle their international disputes. Well, in order for to settle their international disputes, or for us to settle our international disputes with the United States of America in regards to the Treaty of Peace and Friendship and how they're supposed to be treating Moors, well, you got to get on the international. You have to get on the international platform. And in order to get on the international platform, you have to create Moroccan states. It has to be done. It has to be done. The only way you can go to this venue in order to air out your grievances or your disputes or your disagreements is in regards to the treaties that are between you, is become a international person, right? All members, number 4, all members shall refrain in their international relations from the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state, or in any other manner inconsistent with the purpose of the United Nations, right? Because it's about peace. If you're about peace, you can't be warring against any other so-called member of the UN. You can't do it. Not only can you not do it with them, you can't do it with anybody, because the United Nations, to be a party to the United Nations, you have to resolve your situations with anyone else in a peaceful manner. And as far as I know it, if we go back to the historical timeline, and we go back to the home page, and we go back to class assignments, we're going to go to and then we go down to the international law section, and then we click on the members. We go all the way down to the U's, y'all. We go all the way down to the United States of America, and they became an active member of the UN when it was established, 45. Even though I already had the answer to that because we already talked about it. They've been a member of the UN since 1945. So they already know they're supposed to be handling their disputes with peace. All right? Number 5. All members shall give the United Nations every assistance in any action it takes in accordance with the present charter. So now becoming a member of the United Nations means you have to provide resources, whether it be finances or whether it be peace officers. You have to assist. Exactly, they're hypocrites. But then again, we ain't put ourselves on that political platform in order to challenge them or to air out our grievances with the fact that they signed what treaty? Let's go back to the treaties, Moors. Which did they sign the treaty? They were part of the original. They were part of the original darn nation, right? So if we go to the treaty page, which is what? Go back up to home page. Then you go to the erudite lessons. No, it's not erudite lessons. It's the historical timeline. And then we go down to, there's a specific document. It's the General Assembly. I feel the need to say this before we move forward with the United Nations, because I'm going to keep flipping and flopping, because y'all need to be able to understand what it is that I'm talking about. And I hope I put it here. I'm almost positive I did. I'm going down to, I wish one of my colleagues was here, because he would be able to point me right to what I'm looking for. It is, I think I'm going to have to go to a book. Give me a second. I'm going to a book that I know has it in it. It's the treaty book. I create binders. I don't want to show you it, but I create binders. So I want to talk about a specific resolution of the UN, a specific UN resolution that talks about decolonization, which automatically puts the United States on the hook for decolonization. So give me 1 second. I got to find it. It is located in this book under, let's see, decoration. I'm going to go see if where's it at? Vienna, elimination of all forms of racism. And understand, Moors, understand, everybody don't ratify every treaty, and they don't all, which means signs it into their judicial law. They don't always do that. I thought I put it in here. Where you at? Where you at? It's resolution 1514. I think it's resolution 1514. UN, let me try to see if I can just pull it up. UN resolution. (1514), if I'm not mistaken. This is the resolution 1514. Is a resolution of the United Nations General Assembly that affirmed independence of countries and peoples under colonial rule. Okay, I'm gonna go and pull that. I'm gonna go pull that on and put it on the site, because I think it needs to be there. I'm absolutely positive that it absolutely positively needs to be there. This is the Declaration on the Granting of Independence to Colonial Countries and Peoples. This was done in 1960, y'all. Now, why did the darn civil rights movement in 1965 not know about? Why ain't they know about all this stuff? I don't understand. And it's officially was on the 14th of December, 1960, General Assembly Resolution 1514. We're going to read that real quick because it's short and it talks about decolonization. The General Assembly, the UN Charter, mindful of the determination proclaimed by the people of the world in the Charter of the United Nations to affirm faith in fundamental human rights and in the dignity and worth of the human person and the equal rights of men and women and of nations large and small, and to promote social progress and better standards of life and larger freedom. Conscious of the need for the creation of conditions of stability and well-being in peaceful and friendly relations based on respect for the principles of equal rights and self-determination of all peoples, and of universal respect for and observance of human rights and fundamental freedoms for all without discrimination or distinction as to race, language, sex, or religion, recognizing the passionate yearning for freedom in all dependent peoples, and the decisive role of such peoples in the attainment of their independence, aware of the increasing conflicts resulting from the denial of or impediments in the way of the freedoms of such peoples, which constitute a serious threat to world peace. Of course, colonialism constitutes a threat to world peace. Considering the important role of the United Nations in assisting movement for independence in trust and non-self-governing territories. I'm going to read that again. Considering the important role of the United Nations in assisting the movement for independence in trust and non-self-governing territories. Trust and non-governing self-territories. I'm going to leave that there, let y'all ponder that. Recognizing that the peoples of the world ardently desire the end of colonialism in all its manifestations. Considering that the continued existence of colonialism prevents the development of international economic cooperation, impedes the social, cultural, and economic development of dependent peoples, and militants against the United Nations ideal of universal peace. Affirming that people may, for their own ends, dispose of their natural wealth and resources without prejudice to any obligations arising out of international economic cooperation, based upon the principles of mutual benefit and international law. Believing that the process of liberation is irresistible and irreversible, and that in order to avoid serious crises, an end must be put to colonialism and all practices of segregation and discrimination associated therewith. Welcoming the emergence in recent years of a large number of dependent territories into freedom and independence, and recognizing the increasingly powerful trends towards freedom in such territories which have not yet attained independence. Convinced that all people have an inalienable right to complete freedom, the exercise of their sovereignty, and the integrity of their national territory, right? Solemnly proclaims the necessity of bringing to a speedy and unconditional end colonialism in all its forms and manifestations. And to that end, declares that 1. The subjection of peoples to alien subjugation, domination, and exploitation constitutes a denial of fundamental human rights, is contrary to the Charter of the United Nations, and is an impediment to the promotion of world peace and cooperation. 2, all peoples have the right of self-determination. By virtue of that right, they freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social, and cultural development. 3, inadequacy of political, economic, social, and educational preparedness should never serve as a pretext for delaying independence. 4, all armed action or repressive measures of all kinds directed against dependent peoples shall cease in order to enable them to exercise peacefully and freely their right to complete independence, and the integrity of all national territories shall be respected. They talk about national territories. You can only create and establish a national territory through statehood. 5, immediate steps shall be taken. Immediate steps shall be taken in trust and non-self-governing territories or all other territories which have not yet attained independence, to transfer all powers to the people of those territories without any conditions or reservations, in accordance with their freely expressed will and desire, without any discrimination or distinction as to race, creed, or color, in order to enable them to enjoy complete independence and freedom. 6, any attempt aimed at the partial or total disruption of the national unity and territorial integrity of a country is incompatible with the purposes and principles of the Charter of the United Nations. And lastly, number 7, all states shall observe faithfully and strictly the provisions of the Charter of the United Nations, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and the present declaration on the basis of equality, non-interference in the internal affairs of all states. That's in respect for the sovereign rights of all peoples and their territorial integrity. That is what that resolution speaks about. And that was a resolution on the assembly floor. Where's the assembly floor, Morris? Where's the assembly floor? Where's it at? Who's a part of it? The United States is a part of it. So in order for us to hold them accountable for the fact that they're still participating in all these activities, even though there's Moroccan organizations, states that have been declared pursuant to international law as international persons, they don't have the right to continue to be sitting here trying to pull you over for license, registration, proof of insurance, especially if you're not a subject of their jurisdiction. And even that still, being under that jurisdiction, if you have not declared or proclaimed your nationality through a Moroccan state, you still got rights. You still can hold them accountable. That's what the whole arrest and false imprisonment class, which was held on Thursday, is all about. Making sure you know the laws and your rights, your liberties, right? Because it's about keeping the peace. You can't keep the peace if you keep violating individuals because you broke. And you just keep stealing from the people, inhabitants, as highwaymen, right? But we cannot claim or complain about these things if we're not willing to do the due diligence and the studies in order to hold them accountable, which is all about, which is what the arrest of false imprisonment class is all about, gaining the knowledge in relationship to what they're not allowed to do, as well as if they do it, if you do find that you watch that class, you've done the research in that class, and you've seen that, oh, I was falsely imprisoned. They didn't have the lawful authority to search and to seize and the different things like that. Then now you got to go to representing yourself pro se in court, representing yourself in court to file a claim against those co-conspirators. Because again, the more we start operating and using the pen to hold them accountable for their actions against us, the more the respect, you're going to get that respect from there automatically, because they're going to know they can't mess with you because you will put a claim against them and they will lose the privileges that they have, like the cars and the houses, because they got to pay out on this claim that they initiated because they didn't follow due process of law. That's another class. On Thursday, same platform, same time. Islam. So if we get back to the charter, now we've gotten through chapter 1, and we're moving toward, where the heck did we go? Did we get past? The way this darn book writes, it's like it goes down, then it goes up. Yeah, so now we're on chapter 2. We're on chapter 2, membership. Chapter 2, membership. It is now 8:32. We're only going to go to 9 o'clock, Moors. We're only going to go to, no, we're not. We're past Article 2. We just finished Article 2 where I moved right after I read 7. Yeah, we read all 7 of those, right? How far did we go? Yep, we got to give a sense organization shall ensure that states which are, oh no, maybe I'm not, no. Let me go back up to number 4 in Article 2. Thank you for that. Number 4 in Article 2, because I did read all of those. All members shall refrain in their international relations from the threat or use of force against territory, integrities, or political independence of any other state. So integrity of domains, sovereignty of domains, right? Or in any other manner inconsistent with the purpose of the nation of the charter. Islam. Number 5, I'm on the East Coast, by the way. I'm on the East Coast. It might be 5 o'clock where you are. It's 8:30 where I am. Number 5, all members shall give the United Nations every assistance, I did read this, in any action it takes in accordance with the present charter, and shall refrain from giving assistance to any state against which the United Nations is taking preventive or enforcement action. So what it's talking about there is that, okay, you have to comply with what the membership into the charter talks about. You have to comply. You can't go against what the United Nations is doing. That's pretty much what they're trying to say. You got to refrain from giving assistance if we're putting an action against a so-called state for whatever it's doing to another state. You can't kind of come in and interact that. It's a violation of the treaty. And now you'll see yourself being sanctioned by the UN, right? Number 6, the organization shall ensure that states which are not members, here we go now, states which are not members of the United Nations act in accordance with these principles, so far as may be necessary for the maintenance of international peace and security. So what they're trying to say is that even if you're not a member of the UN, even if you're not a member of the UN for which you signed these charters or you ratified, you ratified participation within the United Nations, you still can't go around warring with other nations just because you ain't a part of the UN. We are going to hold you accountable to maintaining international peace and security. You can't just do what you want even if you're not a member. That's what it's trying to say. Number 7, nothing contained in the present charter shall authorize the United Nations to interfere in matters which are essentially within the domestic jurisdiction of any state, or shall require the members to submit such matters to settlement under the present charter. But this principle shall not prejudice the application of enforcement measures under Chapter 7. So what it's kind of saying is that they can't get involved with domestic disputes within a state. That's where Moors find themselves. Domestic dispute within a state. By not, like, okay, Moors under the United States jurisdiction are considered proteges, protected persons, Moroccan subjects. They're under that domestic jurisdiction. The France versus United States case also stipulates that. And if I go pull that up real quick, see if I can find it real quick. I got to pull stuff out. Then my desk is all crazy with all types of information. Let me go to it, Moors. Give me a second, because I'm going to tell you why they saying that domestic disputes, situations with Moors that are part of non-governing territories because they didn't declare or proclaim their independence as Moroccan states, is under domestic jurisdiction. That's why you send your documents to them. If you haven't, if the documents you're sending are like affidavit of facts and different things like that, they can't get involved in that sovereignty of states. It's called sovereignty of states. So if I go to United States submission concerning consular jurisdiction reads. Let me go find it. The last page of the document. I don't want to go here because I'm not going to find it there. So I'm just going to go run over to the UN website yet again to find what it is I'm talking about. So we are on page. So it's the judgment, France versus United States, 1952. And this case originally was about the rights of United States nationals in Morocco. What were their rights? And France was the one that took them to court to the ICJ because they thought they didn't have to listen to France, who was the protectorate of the Moroccan Empire when with the Treaty of Fez of 1912. Don't quote me on that. Keep trying to tell y'all. Sometimes my numbers be mismatched. That's why I be asking people to verify what I say. Now, summary judgment. I'm going to go to the summary judgment. Again, all this stuff is pull-upable from the website. You ain't got to go do all no dumpster dive when you try to go look up something under the so-called United States jurisdiction. It'd be difficult to find stuff sometimes under the United States jurisdiction. All right, give me a second. Now, it's a 2-page document. I don't want to read the whole document. I just want to go to the part where it talks about jurisdiction, and I think that is number 3. It's number 3. It's number 3. By 10 votes to 1, it is entitled to exercise consular jurisdiction in all cases, civil or criminal, brought against citizens or proteges of the United States, and to the extent required by the provisions of the Act of Algiers related to consular jurisdiction, right? And if we were to go to the Act of Algiers, consular jurisdiction, it talks about, oh goodness, I forgot which section that was. I'm gonna have that ready for next week, though. I'm gonna have that ready for next week. So what is that saying? Moors, you're identified as proteges under the jurisdiction of the United States, and or protected persons, or Moroccan subjects. But again, everybody's scared to use the word Moroccans because we ain't been using the word, and we haven't been reamping that word up through statehood, right? Even the Kingdom of Morocco, right? So what it's saying is that in all cases, civil or criminal, brought against citizens or proteges of the United States. What is a protege? Do you guys know what a protege is? Just so you know what it means. A protege is a person who is guided and supported by an older or more experienced or influential person. That gives you a freaking bullcrap example of it, but you need the better meaning of what a freaking protege is. Let me see if I can get it. Because they try to list it in terms of like a professional, like you are studying under a professional. But as it relates to international law, that's why I needed that protege book. That's why I need the protege book, right? It says protection. So I like to mess with my words. But a protege is somebody protected under a specific jurisdiction. And this is being used in international law. And I hate when they don't give you the definition so I can verify this, because unless you got an international law book, not the Black's Law, international law book. It talks about what, against citizens and proteges. A protege is somebody protected under the protection or the patronage or tutelage of another, right? So it's somebody under. So Moors under Morocco, within Morocco, are considered under the jurisdiction of the United States as proteges, right? Because they haven't declared or proclaimed their independence through the establishment of Moroccan states. Whereas though now we're not talking domestic jurisdiction, we're talking international. Now I can bring this grievance or this claim to the ICJ because I'm no longer under their jurisdiction as a protege. So it kind of talks about that, or a protected person, right? So based on the France versus United States case, United States was claiming, we ain't gonna go too far deep in this. The United States was claiming that, they didn't have to listen to the France. They didn't have to, not only did they not have to listen to any laws that were established by France through the authority, through the Treaty of Fez, they didn't have to listen to the new laws that they were establishing. They were immune by it, and they were using the Treaty of Peace and Friendship as justification, Articles 20 and 21. So in certain situations, they say, oh, yes, you do. But in other situations, it's like, when the Moors come back, I'm going to just say, paraphrase it. When the Moors come back, y'all got limited jurisdiction over civil and criminal cases under not only United States citizens, but United States protege. But when the Moroccan Empire come back in full-fledged and they start enacting legislation, you're held to that because you're within Morocco, not the other way around. Now, you can only hold your United States citizens to your laws, but when the Moroccan states are established and when they come back into full force by declaring and proclaiming their independence through the norms of international law, and they start creating legislation, you and your citizens are held to that, and they do not need your prior assent or prior approval in order for you to be subject to it. That's kind of what they were saying and the judgment. But we'll go through this as we go through international law so you'll understand the difference between domestic and Islam. So there's a difference between domestic and international. And if we want to use international documents, we got to get on the international platform. We can't sit here and be trying to use international documents in a venue that can't speak or hear or listen to that type of document. And if you find yourself in a lower court trying to fight a do not need your trying to fight a municipal code, and then you trying to use the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, well, that's a mismatch. That so-called administrator who's not competent to hear things on an international level, that's why they're in that district court, that lower court, only dealing with municipal codes, private contract, right? Oil and water, absolutely. Absolutely. Right. So let's see. We can get to membership. Chapter 2, membership. Chapter 2, membership. Article 3. The original members of the United Nations shall be states which, having participated in the United Nations Conference and International Organization at San Francisco, or having previously signed the declaration by United Nations on January 1st, 1942, signed the present charter and ratified it in accordance with Article 10. So sometimes you in the beginning of a document, right? And then they're going to refer to something like way, 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 way down. So since they refer to something way, 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 way down, I'm going to go there. But I'm going to reread what it just said, just so you can have in your memory and at the top of your head when I go down to Article 10, Article 110. The original members of the United Nations. Well, the original members of the United Nations represent how many? They represent the first 5 and then the 51 initial member states, right? So you had 51 initial member states when the charter for the UN was established in 1945. And then you got the 5 main security members. Does anybody remember what the 5 were? We got China. We got Russia, which was originally the Soviet Union. We have the kingdom of, what the heck kingdom? I'm getting a brain fart. What's the kingdom? The P5. It's called the G5, or is it the P5? The permanent 5, right? So you got what? China, Russia, France, the United Kingdom. There you go. And then United States. Russia, China, France, United Kingdom, United States. All right? So that's the original members of the United Nations shall be the states which, having participated in the United Nations Conference and International Organization at San Francisco, or having previously signed the declaration by United Nations on January the 1st, 1942. So that's the first one, because it wasn't established or finalized, I guess, until 45. They talk about when it was initiated in 1942. And you see, I'm going to go there, signed the present charter and ratified it in accordance with, okay, so they're talking about ratification in Article 110. They're talking about ratification in Article 110. So they're trying to say that, talking about ratification in accordance to 110. So let's go run down to 110 just to see what it says, because it mentioned it. And I don't like to leave things undisclosed, especially if they talked about it. So if you go down to 110, article, where's 110 at? Okay. It's under the statute? Is it under the statute? How do they refer to 110 and it's not on this original document? It's 54 freaking pages. And they got the pages of all the signatures of all the individuals that signed the charter. And it only goes to 79. So if I go to a previous article, let me just go do a quick search. Article 110 of the UN Charter. See if I can go find it real quick. Okay. So we go to Article 110 of the UN Charter. It speaks of this. And they're talking about ratification. They're talking about ratification. Article 110, the present charter shall be ratified by the signatory states in accordance with their respective constitutional process, okay? They're telling you how the charter is to be ratified. Number 2, the ratification shall be deposited with the government of the United States of America, which shall notify all of the other signatory states of each deposit, as well as the Secretary General of the organization when he has been appointed. The present charter, number 3, the present charter shall come into force upon the deposit of ratifications by the Republic of China, France, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republic, also known as Russia, the United Kingdom of Great Britain, and Northern Ireland, and the United States of America, and by a majority of the other signatory states. A protocol of the ratifications deposited shall thereupon be drawn up by the government of the United States of America, which shall communicate copies thereof to all the signatory states. Number 4, the states signatory to the present charter which ratify it after it has come into force will become original members of the United Nations on the date of the deposit of their respective ratifications. That's what that is talking about. I had to go all the way back there because the original document didn't have this Article 110 in it. I don't know why it did, but it did not. So let me go back to where I was, if I can find it. There we go. So that's what they're talking about in terms of ratification. So let's go back up to Article 4. We're still talking about membership. Article 4, Section 1. Membership in the United Nations is open to all other peace-loving states which accept the obligations contained in the present charter and in the judgment of the organization are able and willing to carry out these obligations. Number 2. The admission of any such state to membership in the United Nations will be effected by a decision of the General Assembly upon the recommendation of the Security Council. So the Security Council is going to recommend who should become a member state of the UN. And then it goes to the General Assembly from a vote. So they got so it goes to the Security Council first. Number 5. A member of the United Nations against which preventative or enforcement action has been taken by the Security Council may be suspended from the exercise of the rights and privileges of membership by the General Assembly upon the recommendation of the Security Council. Y'all gotta read this. The exercise of these rights and privileges may be restored by the Security Council. That's interesting. So if one of the Security Council members, those G5, let's talk about the G5, or the P5, if they do something, they're supposed to be suspended for a minute. But if they're part of the Security Council, they can veto an action. I think that's a little bit. We gotta talk about that as we gain knowledge, right? We'll talk about it, right? I think that's funny. I see a way around it too. Article 6. A member of the United Nations which has persistently violated the principles contained in the present charter may be expelled from the organization. Y'all gotta listen to this part. May be expelled from the organization by the General Assembly upon the recommendation of the Security Council. So, okay, if you got the G5 or the P5 of the Security Council, and an action comes up against an individual that is a part of the P5, would that P5 member that has been brought up for violating something because of colonialism and all the crazy things that the United States, I'm going to just say it, the United States of America is doing, would they be able to use their veto power? Or would they have to get another member to use their veto power? Or would they be exempt because they are party to the action? Interesting. We're going to talk about that, right? We are definitely going to talk about that. So with that being said, I don't want to go further. We got to chapter 3, Article 6. We got far, y'all. And I think we did well because the beginning of the class, I always got to do precursors. I always got to do my intro and give you certain information. And we always got to start with the charter because we're talking about the UN and we're talking about international peace, right? Absolutely. So with that being said, we're at 7 minutes. 7 minutes before the end of this broadcast. And I guess my question is, do y'all got any questions? We'll use the last 7 minutes to see if anybody has any questions to push at YeSharon in regards to the topic at hand. I mean, I would like to stay on topic, Moors. I would like to stay on topic, Moors. My brain froze. Why your brain froze, Mark D? I mean, Mike D, why'd your brain freeze? Did I freeze it? Because I do talk fast, y'all. I talk fast because I think, like, I just talk fast because I'm like thinking about what I'm talking about, thinking about what I'm reading. Yes, sometimes known collectively as the P5. The P5 is China, France, the Soviet Union, whose seats and memberships were assumed by Russia in 1991. The United Kingdom, which is the United Kingdom of Great Britain, and the United States. Islam. All right, where else? It's a conflict of interest that, and I think I know why they're there, because we're not there. The Moors are not there, so because they're writing, not necessarily writing for, because they can't write for Moors, right? They can only be doing stuff while the Moors sitting over here having fun, right? So while the Moors sitting over here having fun, I don't think we having fun. They're over there doing things on an international basis with all these different communities. So of course they would be a part of the P5 because it's their treaty, the Treaty of Peace and Friendship that gave them even the right to sit at that seat, to even be a part of the founding members of the UN, right? So that's why I think that they have that P5 status, because of the Moroccan Empire. And, you know, the more in them having that authority through the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, Article 22. My thoughts, y'all. It's just my thoughts. Yeah, they are representatives of our land. Of course, they would be a ruling representative. You wouldn't want other people to be sitting here telling you what you can and can't do. I don't know. I just think it makes sense to me as it relates to their kind of representing us. Yeah, what wasn't Great Britain? Yeah, they're trustees. Islam, Chriselle, I ain't seen you in a minute. Miss you much. Islam. What else? Let me look up here at these different comments, because like I said, we got 4 minutes. We're not going to go jumping into more topics at 4 minutes. And y'all remember, we closed at what? Chapter 3. We're closing this session, class 2, on chapter 3. And this class will be linked to the international law section of the page on the class assignment where it lists international law. It will be down there, as well as obviously you can watch it just from the page. Also realize too, Moors, that please subscribe to the channels as well as click on notifications, so when I do go live, you're automatically Islam Razin, you'll automatically pop up on your phone that YeSharon's going live, and you won't miss any classes. And then I don't have to send you guys emails to let you know that I'm having class. That's why I chose to come on a public platform. Not only did I choose to come on a public platform, just so I would minimize how much I had to do. How can they be treaties as de facto? I mean, trustees as de facto. Well, qualified term, de facto trustees. They're trustees because they have the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. They have the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, Article 22. They have the authority to act on our behest. Consent. Well, we gave them consent by walking away from government. We gave them consent by walking away from government. So if we go back to the treaty, because what did the treaty say, y'all? Treaty of Peace and Friendship. Let's go back. Let's go back and take the last 3 minutes to tell you what the Treaty of Peace and Friendship talks about. It talks about trust, right? This is a trust. They're operating as a trust territory, right? Trust. They're operating under trust. The trust that they're operating under, Treaty of Peace and Friendship, Article 22. I'm trying to tell you. Where's that? There it is. So if we go to 22, Article 22 under Treaty of Peace and Friendship, still enforced between the Moroccan Empire and the United States of America. Article 22 says, I quote, "If an American citizen shall die in our country, and no will shall appear, the consul shall take possession of his effects. And if there shall be no consul, the effects shall be deposited in the hands of some person worthy of trust, until the party shall appear who has a right to demand them. But if the heir to the person deceased be present, the property shall be delivered to him without interruption. And if a will shall appear, the property shall descend agreeable to that will as soon as the council shall declare the validity thereof, the will in question. So with the Moors being absent, and the reasons the Moors are absent is because the Sultan of the Moroccan Empire recused himself, because you can't do two things. You can't be a state and then run the Moroccan Empire. And I think that was an agreement they all made. Look, leave it vacant. The United States is going to take jurisdiction automatically because of the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. You over here becoming a kingdom of Morocco for just that portion of Morocco, and which left the whole Moroccan Empire when he removed himself and declared himself the king, his state, the Kingdom of Morocco, because the Kingdom of Morocco only has jurisdiction over that part of Africa. Islam? Talking about it. We're talking about it now. Before you can get membership as a state, you have to declare an independent Moroccan state. And the Treaty of Peace, the Treaty of Algiers talks about how, as well as the book that I'm going to be referring once we get past certain points, is the creation of states in international law. Now, if we remember on last class, the creation of states in international law talked about certain factors. You had declaratory status, declaratory theory, and you had constitutive theory. And then outside of those two theories, you had recognition from a state to validate your statehood, right? That made you an international person in regards to international law. So what it talks about, what factors treat to the establishment of a state? Well, you have to have permanence, willingness to obey international law. Recognition is one. Entities within a reasonable defined territory, a permanent population, a more or less stable government, substantial degree of independence of other states. And then you have other things that would further go into that. That's just a preliminary, right? So you have to start self-governing. And in order to self-governing, you have to declare your state. In order to declare a state, you got to make a name up for your state. In order to make a name up for your state, now you got to now you have to declare your independence through Declaration of Independence. Yada, 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 yada. We're going to get into all of that stuff, right? I was like, but you got to understand what international law says, because people think that they can interpret things based on however they feel as though it means. No, it means exactly what it says. So don't sit here and take the interpretations that I say. Go take the law for what it says. International law says what happens. You got to declare yourself a state. In order to declare yourself a state, you got to have people. You have to have a territory. You have to have a constitution. You have to have a voting process. You have to have all of these things. As these states are established, you're not going to have many people. And I don't suggest you have too many when you're establishing, because people argue. Our people love to fight. Our people love to fight. We love to fight. Be fighting ourselves. Be like, you be sitting there in the dark fighting and don't realize you fighting literally yourself. You literally fighting yourself. And now it's 9:01. I don't know how it went to 57 minutes before the hour. And now it's 2 minutes after the hour. Islam Moors, that is the close of the second class today on international law. As well as, we went through a lot of things. I'm going to highlight these documents. I'm going to highlight these documents and highlight this section on the page of international law, but it's located under the class assignments. It's located under the class assignments on international law. You go down, all the videos will be in there or organized. The documents that we're going to be bringing up, obviously, are referenced on the historical timeline page, but I'll probably be working on that either tonight or tomorrow to kind of clear it up and make sure everything is functioning the way it needs to function. And with that, I yield. I adjourn until next Tuesday to resume international law. Please stay tuned for Thursday on arrest and false imprisonment. I just posted up a new page which is called Representing Yourself in International Law. It's a very, very extensive page with very, 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 very extensive information. And after false imprisonment class winds up, we're going to go move right over to representing yourself in court and start having some mock trial videos. I don't know where we're going to have them, but we're going to have to start having these things so you get comfortable arguing the facts and defending yourself as a so-called pro se litigant, which is also what is called impropria persona, in my own right, in my own person, right? Please, Moors, donate to this platform. It takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of resources, and a lot of study to prepare these things. This is my baby. What I think our people need, the truth, the information, without all the extra nonsense that a lot of other platforms try to push. So donations are definitely welcome and necessary and appreciated. Thank you in advance for donating to the platform. You can go right on the page and donate to Cash App. You can donate through Cash App or Zelle in terms of assisting me with keeping the financial ability to promote knowledge of self and understand, like, the things that you get from this platform, you really can't get in a lot of places. Not only can you not get it in a lot of places, they don't help you understand it and really do a good job, in my opinion, in teaching it. So definitely after the close of this class, I'll post up the Zelle. The Zelle, in order to send me a Zelle, that'll go straight to accounts. You can send that through my YeSharon Moabite YeSharon Akasha at gmail.com website. I'm sorry, email address, and then you can do Cash App. My Cash App has not changed. All that information is also located on the website under the class assignment, as well as what's it called? Representing yourself in pro se, in court, as pro se litigant, impropria persona. Islam, Moors, and I always try to end on the Moroccan prayer, and I always got to look it up just so I make sure I'm saying it right, So I'm always going to end on the prayer. It's not on my desktop, it's in my file. So let me see if I can find it to make sure I can say it to you guys. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Noble Jew Ali. Ameen, Ameen, Islam. Peace and love, Moors. Y'all have a good night.